Well, you've politely declined to sing, the opening lines of the song that I hear that you guys go through at your results presentations. Something that you can sing about is the kind of results we're seeing today. So run us through the year that was for the company.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good year for us. We've been helped by a 53rd week that we've seen extra trading coming through for that week, and it did help the results. Plus the comparative figures were influenced by BE transactions the prior year. So us as management, we look at the results slightly differently, and we look at the comparable results, and we look at the 26% increase in headline earnings, which is still a good number for us. It's been a good year. Our gross margins were well maintained through the year and slightly up in the second half, and our cost controls were in place. So we had a very good year.
Yeah, Werner, looking at the other numbers, your dividend up 96%, revenue up 11%, gross profit, that's a good number, up 16%. And just looking at the whole building materials space, I mean, it's becoming very, very cluttered, isn't it? You are still the largest cash retailer of building materials. You've got 191 stores. But how can you maintain these numbers in the future and sort of leverage off your dominant position? Because, as I say, there are so many people entering this market.
Lindsay, yes, we've been a bit slow on store development activity, and we only saw 4 new stores this year. We also closed 4 stores this year, so we need to step up on that and make sure that there's a lot of areas that's not serviced by us yet, and where there's opportunities, and we need to make sure that we get up there and open those stores, and also get some scale benefit from opening new stores. We're busy implementing a new IT system. All of that should give us the scale benefit that we should be able to keep and maintain that.
Of course, we've spoken before, Werner, about your first mover advantage into the rural area, and that's certainly held you in good stead. What about in the urban areas and the competitive landscape there? Are you finding that the likes of a Builder's Warehouse, for example, the operation that's been established by Walmart, is giving you a bit more competition given the muscle that Walmart brings with it?
Certainly, yes. In the rural markets, certainly there's some advantages there. But in the urban markets, we see Builders Warehouse is in a lot of markets where we trade. They're excellent trader. They've got good systems, and they've got a good brand and a good business. Mm-hmm. All in all, we've got a different philosophy to them, and we don't do specials. We don't do price cuts, and so it's a different approach, and we don't see that effect in our business, but we do find competition from them.
Werner, your predecessor, Pat Goldrick, used to say to me, Lindsay, we're opening these stores, but one of the things that puts a brake on us opening more stores, and you highlighted that, you said you only opened 4 stores or whatever it was over the period, comparable period from last year. But is it a question of not finding the correct locations for those stores, and that has hampered your expansion plans?
Lindsay, yes, to a certain extent, we do see that the sites is becoming a problem in certain areas. We've got a number of projects that's on the go, and that we find where the sites are there, but the developers are struggling to get electricity to the sites, or there's some planning consent that they're struggling with. There's a number of things that we've seen a number of our developments been put on hold for the last year and a half, and we hope that will now be changing soon, and we hope that we will see the same number of stores opening this half than we've seen for the whole last year.
Mm-hmm. How telling is the kind of results we've seen come through on a revenue basis from your pre-existing stores versus your new stores? Because 10% revenue earnings growth coming through from pre-existing stores, it's 1% contribution on your 9 new stores. Does that tell of the kind of locations that you've set up shop in?
No, it's just the comparison of 9 stores versus the 190 is getting smaller than in the past, when we used to open 10 or even 17 stores on a base of 120, 130 stores. So I don't think there's any specific thing to read into that.
Werner, the transactions were up 2% over this period, the 53 weeks. And you say in your results presentation, you say that has got to become an area of focus for management. In other words, you're disappointed with it. Give us an idea of what your sort of target for an increase in transactions might be.
Lindsay, it is disappointing, especially when you take out the 53rd week. That number is flat on the previous year in terms of customer numbers. So it is disappointing for us. We look at an existing business to grow our transactions by 3-4% a year, which would give us that growth we need, and then obviously adding the new stores gives us that growth that we would expect.
Do we see some of these profit margins coming under pressure, because you still managed to increase your profit margins up to 23.3%, and that's 0.8% higher than the previous time? With the strategy in mind, will that become tougher to do?
Definitely. We've had a bit of a windfall in terms of the 53rd week. Again, we had some extra settlement discount into those figures and some rebate scales that we hit because of our extra trading. And but yes, we need to stay competitively priced, and it's something that we're monitoring very closely. We've seen subsequent to year-end that our trading hasn't been that positive. We're only up 5%, and that's as part of the area where we're focusing on, is to make sure that our margins are at the right levels and not getting on the high side.
Costs up 9%, 3% inflation, so the other 6% presumably must be staff costs, and I know you're very, very keen on maintaining high service levels. Am I right? Is that 6% merely increased staffing levels?
Yes, Lindsay, last year for the results on the review, we gave all staff a 5% increase, and there's a complement growth in staff where we added some staff. So you're right, that's been a pressure on us, but the other cost pressure is on our property portfolio. We trade out of a number of rental stores, and that grows by about 8% on average for us a year, which does place pressure on us in terms of cost control.
Is that something that you're looking to change moving forward, just the reliance that you have on rentals?
Yes, it's been a strategy of us for a number of years now to try and buy the properties if we can. It's not always possible to buy a portion of a shopping centre. But we've also, the last year, done a few transactions with developers where we entered into a bit of a funding model where we managed to get our rentals down, but also our escalations by working together and working to a common goal and making sure that the returns for the developers are there and that we get a benefit longer term for the business.
Just finally from me, Werner, since these results have been collated, what has been the trading conditions like? Because I noticed a couple of the retailers that also had June year ends. Yours is peculiar because you've got an extra week, but those retailers have been quite enthusiastic about telling us what the trading has been like since the end of June. Have you also experienced some good conditions?
Lindsay, no, to the contrary, we've experienced some tough conditions since our year end. We stated there for the 9 weeks after our year-end, our trading is only up 5%, which is disappointing for us, taking the history that we had and how we traded. But we're good at swift corrective action, and I'm sure our action plans would make us go beyond that and correct that fairly swiftly.
Well, let's leave it there, Werner. Thanks so much for your time today. Werner Jager is Chief Executive at Cashbuild.